Hello, and thanks for tuning in tonight to Answers for the Paranormal for a beautiful night here on the East Coast of the United States, November the 10th, 2016. My name's Bill Posey. I'm your host tonight, and our election panel is back on with us tonight from Horsham, PA. My co-host, Joe Marodi. How's it going, Joe?
Hey, Bill. Doing great. Looking forward to tonight's show, the wrap-up show, this post-election show. And we'll get some thoughts out there, and there's some very, very interesting and, to me, shocking things that are going on as a result of this election. So we're gonna get into it tonight, and see what everybody thinks.
Great. And also from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, in my living room, is Susan Posey. Sue, what's going on?
Hey, oh happy day. Congratulations, all you deplorable
Yes.
monsters.
Yep. And another deplorable on the line with us from Chris, are you at school?
Yes, I'm at school.
Okay, from Kutztown University, the deplorable Chris Krill. How's it going tonight, Chris?
The deplorable. It's doing good. It's kind of it's not scary, but it's different walking around. People are looking at you differently.
Yeah.
Because you don't believe the same view as them. Kind of look at the hypocrisy. When you don't agree with them, you have to agree with them. But thank you for having me, and I look forward to our discussions.
Yeah, we do as well. So I want to thank everyone for coming on again tonight. It's an honor for me to chair this panel because you three are some of my closest, and I really trust your opinions, and trust that tonight we're going to be led along by the Spirit, and we're going to make our opinions known, and just look out at the landscape that is this post-election landscape, and we have our observations and we have our commentary that we want to bring out tonight. So thanks, you guys, for being on with me.
Great. It's awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Sure. Again, we are Answers for the Paranormal. We are an internet ministry. Joe and I have been doing this since 2010. We heard the call of God, and we formed Answers for the Paranormal to address supernatural, and we've done numerous broadcasts on ghosts and aliens and other things in the paranormal world that the answers to what's going on have only been by a worldview, and we've been coming at this whole paranormal craze from a biblical worldview, and so that's who we are, and that's what we do. Our website is www.answersfortheparanormal.org. So look us up and check us out. You can go to our contact page where you'll find our email addresses there, and you can shoot us off a message and or a question, anything that you hear that you want to address. We welcome everyone to get in touch with us, so hopefully you'll do that. Well, we've titled this show tonight the Post-sElection 2016, and I think all four of us would agree that this is a different result tonight than what we expected. And I have to say, personally, I'm shocked that things turned out the way they did, and I'm also humbled in a way that I'm ready to admit, hey guys, our vote counts. Do you believe that?
That's what I was going to say. It was funny watching Bill's response to the election results. He just kept saying, "I can't believe it. Our vote counts. I can't believe it."
I was up until 3:30 in the morning.
Wow.
On election night, yeah. I was watching all the. Well,
I was up till
man, I say, and yeah, it's it's shocking, and I'll admit that I was 100% sure that Hillary Clinton was going to win. I've never been so happy to be so wrong. But I think that, Chris, you, maybe out of all, well, I know where me and Bill stood. I think that Sue thought there was a chance for Trump to win. But I think, Chris, I was texting with you and with Bill on election night, and you seem to, of all of us, possibly had the most hope for a Trump victory. Is that right or wrong?
I had a hope because I could see the anger of the people that feel abandoned. I've seen people that never voted, that had no reason to vote enthusiastically, and that came out to be true. You get Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Florida, North Carolina. I mean, the people who feel neglected, the blue-collar worker, the uneducated who built this country had a voice. And listen, I fell into the media. I thought she was going to win. I mean, everyone was pushing. Everyone thought she was going to win ever since, forever. But something happened. I don't know. Something happened, and it's we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, it turns out good.
Well, my hope was in the Lord the whole time. I really just felt strongly like, God ultimately is the one who sets up and disposes of kings and kingdoms, and whoever would win, even if it was her, that it was God's will, and He has a purpose for that. However, I did strongly feel that if she won, it was going to be the purpose of judgment. But like I said, I had a hope in the Lord only. But again, I agree with Chris. Between what you hear people saying about Trump, believing the smear campaign, the lies, the accusations, and just listening to the media, even most of the media, as we all agree, is all liberal and biased, so they're always going to keep skewing it towards her. And even Fox is kind of half and half. You have your Trump supporters, and then you have the ones that aren't your Trump supporters. So, it kind of looks iffy at best. But praise God, obviously he's the, he was, and I truly feel that, he was born for such a time as this. I truly do believe when I watched that video on the parallels between Trump and King Cyrus, they are astonishing, and the parallels are uncanny. So I just think that, God has a purpose for Trump in this time.
Yes, something is happening now. It remains to be seen. We're hopeful of some serious change in politics. I have my reservations. I voted for him, but I'm going to watch every move he makes. If he starts to sway away from the things that he said, I'm going to be all over him like a cheap suit. I mean, I'm not a respecter of persons. I liked his message, and I'll tell you. Let me just share this as we get started. I think that this is something that has been building for a long time in this country. I go back to my days of listening to talk radio in Philadelphia in the 70s and 80s. And a particular program that I listened to all the time was the Herb Hummer Show. And he had a particular niche of listeners and callers that were disenfranchised and disenchanted with politics. They understood that there was corruption at the core of politics, and they wanted change. And the years went by, and the Democrats put up their candidates, the Republicans put up their candidates, and the Libertarians put up their candidates. And I always voted Libertarian because I always believed that they held to the constitutional precepts that this country was founded on more so than the other two parties. Now, I think the last serious libertarian candidate was Harry Brown back in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
The Libertarian Party has swayed away from being serious as far as adhering to the Constitution. So I no longer pay attention to them, and for the life of me, I can't vote for, and their nonchalance with regards to abortion, I can't deal with that anymore. I just can't deal with it. So I think that this is the thing that I've been hearing is that it seems like that they're trying to say that this is something that kind of happened overnight or within the last year. I think this is something that was building for a long time. We were looking for a voice who was going to say the things that needed to be said and not worry about the backlash, not worry about the negative coverage. And this is what I see in Donald Trump, and that's why I voted for him. Now, like I said, let's see how his presidency goes. If Hillary Clinton was elected, I know how the country would have gone. But this is something different. This is something fresh. When you hear him talk, he doesn't sound like a politician. He doesn't worry about offending anyone. Do I agree with everything he says? Of course not. But I agree with him more than I've agreed in the last 2 decades with any politician. Mm-hmm. So this is something that it's exciting, it's different, and we're gonna see how it goes.
I agree, Joe, and I'm the same way. I mean, if he's not going to hold true to his word, he's going to lose me too. However, don't be disappointed if he can't get everything done in 4 years.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean? But the only thing we can hope is that, thankfully, we also have the House and the Senate. Not for too long, but for a little bit at least. And hopefully the fact that we do have the House and the Senate will make it, will leave him unhindered to be able to accomplish the things that he promised. And if he can even do one quarter of what he has promised, at least it's a step in the right direction. I would be happy even with a quarter of that. Now, where he should start, that's a whole other subject. You're going to say, some people are going to say he should start with the economy and jobs. Others are going to say he should start with the wall, or, et cetera, et cetera. But, like I said, I'll be happy if he gets one quarter of it done.
Mm. All right.
I think you also have to think about... I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead, Chris.
I think you also got to think about it. What's his background? He's a businessman. He negotiates. When you negotiate, you have to compromise. So he's going in. Good thing he has a Republican House and Senate, but he's going to have to sway a little bit on his issues. I mean, that's just... And I hope that when he sways a little bit, his supporters that wanted him to do everything he said will understand that to pass legislation, we have to compromise.
Yeah.
And whether that be for, deportation, are you really going to deport everybody from this country like you said? I mean, you should deport the criminals, but you have to have room to work. We had the whole 8 years of the Obama presidency, there was no negotiation. Obama would not even consider it, and neither were the Republicans.
Right.
And I think at some point you got to look through the partisanship and try to compromise, even if it makes you cringe a little bit. And I think that's what Trump will do, a little bit.
But that's exactly the problem, too. Obama still accomplished whatever he wanted to. He just did it by executive orders,
right,
which they were never meant for that. He basically ran it like a dictatorship.
Yes.
And that's the reason, actually, why we have Obamacare today.
Yep.
Because not one Republican voted for it. Yeah, hopefully. That's another thing. Like I said, where did he start? It's such a mess, it's really up for everybody's opinion what you think is really the most pertinent.
Well, today he was at the White House. He met Obama. He met Paul Ryan, and he met Mitch McConnell. And they asked him, "What are you going to do?" He said 3 things. He said, "Healthcare, immigration, and jobs." So I think that's on top of the list.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like a
Even though,
good
when it comes to abortion and everything, that belongs to the Supreme Court, and he should point out a Supreme Court justice before he gets inaugurated. I think. I don't know.
He already proposed like 22 of them that were all good.
Yeah, I read that he had already had someone in mind that he intended on naming before Inauguration Day, so that once he did get in there, that he would be ready to hit the ground running, as he put it, to be able to get a Supreme Court justice on the bench. So I think that's one positive, that we'll be able to look to see who that's going to be, and we'll, as the Senate and the House do their part in examining that person, we'll be doing it as well. We'll be looking at their background and what they stand for, and we can only hope and pray that whoever it is that he's willing to bring before the Congress to have them not only nominated but also what's the word, Joe?
Appointed?
Appointed, thanks. No, not appointed. They deliberate and they vote. Well, anyway.
Yeah, it's slipping my mind, too.
Yeah. That's what happens when you get old,
I know. Tell me about it.
Doesn't happen.
Don't scare. Please don't scare me.
No, it doesn't happen to guys like Chris. They're sharp as a tack still. Their minds are able to come up with things right away.
Most of the time.
But
when you're around so much when you're around so much stupidity, it rubs off a little bit. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to who that person is that he wants to suggest, and hopefully we get someone in the ilks of Judge Scalia, one who is very strong pro-Constitution, and that's what we can hope for. So I'm looking forward to that.
Chris, you had an icebreaker. Did you want to ask it?
Yeah. I had two kind of questions, but going back to what I said, what's your guys' opinion on Trump if he turns out to lean left on a little bit of his position not left, goes to the center? And will you be upset if he goes to the center a little bit and compromises to pass legislation? Would that make you take back your support? Because I think that is his name, is to negotiate. I mean, how much can he negotiate until you would feel, wait a second,
Yeah. So you want to answer first, and then Joe, and then I'll finish.
Well, I would say it would really have to depend on what it was that he was going center with. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm sure, I don't know if you overheard, or you were listening in, I think, the one show where me and Joe didn't agree on abortion, So I'm not saying that's one of the things. I mean, like I said, I'm torn about abortion as a whole, especially as a Christian. But I'm definitely against late-term abortion, or the convenience abortions, or, that type of thing. Like I said, he's definitely going to have to lean center towards that. You're never going to go back to all the abortions. You're never going to overturn Roe versus Wade. You know what I mean? Now,
well, that's going to take a Supreme. Go ahead.
Hmm?
I was just going to say that's going to.
It's gone.
No, so you go, and then I'll go.
No, I was going to say, I think he'll stick to his guns, though, when it comes to saying, but I'm not going to fund it. You know what I mean? So I think that's a way of, like you said, Chris, where, he's reaching across the aisle, he's negotiating, he's leaning, he's going center a little bit, but he's going to stick to his guns, which he always said, and he said, I'm not going to fund it. we're not going to fund it. But go ahead, Joe. What did you want to ask?
No, I would be ecstatic with that. If the funding ended for Planned Parenthood, I would be ecstatic for that. Yeah, and as far as overturning Roe v. Wade, that's going to take a Supreme Court challenge. That's not something the president's going to do.
Right.
Right, exactly. But, I mean, like I said, it really...
If someone does bring the challenge, and you do have a conservative 5-4 edge, then possibly it could... Do I think it will be over? No, I don't think it will. I understand that. But my point was, I just can't... I can't bear the thought of someone being okay with abortion and being the president. That's why I didn't vote for any of the libertarians in the last 2 decades. And Trump made his feelings about abortion clear in the debates. And so did Mike Pence.
Yeah.
But to finish up the question, like I said, for me, it would really matter what it is he was going into the center for. And again, you made a good point, Chris, about, are we really going to round up all the illegals? Well, I mean, it's almost impossible to do. But like you said, every single one, is he going to run it like with an iron scepter to where if they're caught, they're breaking the law, no more just letting them go? Because I have families that are police, and they're told, let them go. They just let them go. They don't get deported. So definitely I think that needs, he needs to put his foot down. Like you said, if you get caught breaking the law, you're gone. And hopefully the wall is up, not to keep coming across. Like that guy that killed that woman in California, he was deported 2 or 3 times. He just kept coming right back over. So that wall is important. There has to be, we got to stop the flooding in. We got to stop that major hole, that major leak. Otherwise, even the deporting them is going to matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to answer Chris's question as far as...
Yeah, I think that it depends on the issues. Yeah, the thing we have to understand about presidential campaigns is a lot of things are said, a lot of promises are made, and Donald Trump is no different. The difference to me is the things that he actually said. Now, as far as immigration, illegal aliens, that's something that he needs to stick to his guns on. The trade agreements, and again, like Sue said, his first 4 years, let's see. The trade agreements that we've entered into with NAFTA and the Trans-Pacific Partnership, other treaties that we've entered into that didn't even make it into the debates with other nations all over the world that have threatened our own sovereignty and our own trade. It's going to depend on, what the issue is. It's something that needs to be...
For example, taxes. If he says, all right, we're going to tax the rich a little bit more, they have to pay. He says, I was a rich man, I had all these exemptions, I think we have to raise taxes on the rich, I will work with Democrats to make a deal. Something like that. I know Republicans really don't like raising taxes on the rich. I think that's something that he would consider doing.
I don't have a problem with that. It's just that the thing is that when Hillary says, I'm only going to tax the rich, we all know that's definitely a blatant lie. It's a blatant lie that the Democrats say every election cycle, because all the money is not, even if they tax the rich, they can't take it all, and even if they raise it, it's not enough to pay for it all. Most of the money is in middle America, and they say it was a slip when she said, I'm going to tax the middle class, but that wasn't a slip. That was definitely going to happen, So definitely, I don't have a problem with it for if he does decide to tax people that, make over a certain amount, absolutely not. But if he taxes the middle class, I'm going to have a problem with that. Because we're already tapped out and we're barely making it as it is, and our grown children can't even though they work 40 or more hours a week, can't afford to live on their own. They're still living at home.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris. I'm kind of in agreement with both Sue and Joe here. I think it will depend on the issues. I think that that Trump is the kind of person, though, who will come to the center more maybe than some conservatives would. The only reason being is that his whole business life has been actually coming to the middle or coming to the center to be able to negotiate, and I think a good negotiator will do that. He'll be strong on his beliefs and stance, and he'll want to steer things that way. But if he needs to come to the center to be able to make the deal happen, he will, as long as it benefits the person making the deal, and in this case will benefit America. So I think that he will err that way. He will try and bring it to the middle, but only if it'll benefit America.
It's smart that he did. He had so many issues that mainstream media thought were really, really out there and very extreme. And what that did is then that's going to let him go to the center but have more leeway on his side because they're going to think that he's actually compromising.
That's right. Yep, I totally agree with that. Good question.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, we've had some observations in the past few days. I'm sure we've all come to some kind of understanding about what's going on out there. So why don't we just go around and talk about those things? Joe, why don't we start with you, then Chris, then Susan, and then I'll finish up on observations.
I'll tell you what has been the most challenging aspect of this whole election cycle for me, particularly with doing these last, our third show. And I'll let Scripture speak for me. This has been my greatest challenge, Bill, before I get into my observations.
Okay.
And you guys can comment on this. Maybe you can tell me what your the most challenging aspects of this campaign have been for you guys. This is Paul's letter to the Colossians. In chapter 4, verses 2 through 6, Paul says this. He's speaking to believers here. Devote yourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful, and pray for us, too, that God may open a door for our message so that we may proclaim the mystery of Christ, for which I am in chains. Pray that I may proclaim it clearly as I should. Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. Mm-hmm. So this has been my challenge. I've really been, in watching the debates, and, Chris and Bill, you guys will know because I've been texting you back and forth. I struggled with anger a lot during this election. I really did. And I know that Scripture is speaking to all believers. It's speaking to me. And so the challenge for me has been to have my conversation seasoned with salt and to be gracious and especially, towards outsiders. And it's been very clear as people have made their positions, particularly on Hillary Clinton's side, have made their positions very clear. So it's really been a challenge, and now it's a challenge for me to respond to the response to the election.
Mm-hmm.
So let me. Here are some of the things that, and I'll just, we'll do one at a time. I have a couple pages here of stuff. the thing that really amazed me, one of the observations that I made is that it wasn't really touched on enough. Well, I shouldn't say enough. I didn't notice it being touched on a lot that Hillary Clinton might be the first female president.
Good point.
Particularly when you go back to 2008 when Obama was running. I mean, half of the coverage was, will we have our first black president? I didn't see that this time with Hillary Clinton. And I think that probably goes to her weakness as a candidate, the baggage that she brought to this election. If it had been another woman, perhaps it would have been different. But what was clear to me that she needed to be propped up during this whole, even when she was running in the Democratic primaries. She needed to be propped up, and especially when she, quote unquote, won the Democratic nomination, that she needed to be propped up even more. And I was bewildered as I watched this whole parade of entertainers that stepped up for her, people in Hollywood, from the music industry, from the film industry, artists. And back in '85, I was at Live Aid. You guys remember well, Chris, you won't, but Bill and Steve, you remember Live Aid, right?
Oh yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen Freddie Mercury and all them sing Live Aid.
Well, that was a big concert in two different countries, in England and America, right here in Philadelphia, where a whole bunch of recording artists got together and had these two concerts, and all the money was going to go to starving people in Africa. Well, I'll tell you what I witnessed this election cycle. I witnessed Live Aid 2 for Hillary Clinton. I saw Bruce Springsteen and John Bon Jovi in Philadelphia the night before the election, and then I saw Lady Gaga down in North Carolina, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Paul Simon, James Taylor. What was so clear to me is that Hillary Clinton could not stand on her own message in the way that Trump did. Trump didn't need any of the fanfare. He didn't need anybody coming and singing songs for him. It was shocking to me that as I was watching the coverage on television, like, this was a good thing. Wow, look at all these people coming out for Hillary. Well, why do you think they're doing that? Because she couldn't do it on her own. And despite all of that, she still lost.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one, Joe, because and you're right. I think it really does speak to how weak she was. She didn't really have the wherewithal to stand on the issues. She couldn't really talk about the issues because she wasn't strong on any of them. The only thing that she could do was just say, you know what, you had 8 years of Barack Obama, you're going to get 8 years more of that plus. Because she wasn't going to do anything different. So, to stand on the issues, there were none for her. So she had to make it all about what Trump said, what he did before, this or that. She couldn't really say what she would do as the president, because, quite frankly, I didn't hear anything from her on what she was going to do. It was all about what Trump was unfit to do. So, I'm not the least bit surprised that she had to bring out those kind of people just to be able to get a crowd. Because, you looked at the rallies, Trump would have 20,000 people, and the line would be going around the stadium. And Hillary couldn't fill a gym, a high school gym. And her running mate was just as weak. Whenever he would appear, it would be the same thing. So the Democratic side, they couldn't stand on their issues because they didn't have any.
And the other thing that I noticed about the both of them, when you watch Trump and you listen to him speak, you were convinced that he was convinced what he was saying was true, that he believed what he was saying. Conversely, when you watch Hillary Clinton, it was 30 years of rehashing over, saying the same things over and over again, and it came off as so canned and so prepared and so political that it came off as phony.
Yeah.
And all these people couldn't help her. I mean, Barack Obama, I cracked up. Trump at one of his rallies said, Barack Obama's jumping up and down all over the nation for Hillary. And I was cracking up because that's exactly what he was doing. Him and Michelle Obama. I mean, they couldn't help her.
They couldn't.
So, to me, it was clear. She even appeared physically weak to me.
Yeah.
Say again, Sue?
Barack Obama and Michelle did their best to try and, bring out the black vote for Hillary. They knew that no way was the black vote going to come out in the numbers they did for him. And they knew the only way for her to win was to try and bring them out. So he basically did his best to rally them, but it didn't work.
Yeah, and that wasn't hidden. That was not something that was covert. It was obvious what he and Michelle Obama were doing. Exactly what you just said.
He came right out on one speech and was basically talking to them, like trying to talk to them in slang and saying, yo, to my sisters and brothers in the hood, is basically what he said. Oh, I'm so okay. He said neighborhood. But he said all yous that are in the salons and in the barbershops. Like, come on. He's, literally just trying to, act like he's one of the bros and, yo, I know it's not exciting like it was to come out and vote for me, but I need to pass off the baton. And, this is what he said. I'm not making these words up. You know what I mean? I need to pass the baton to somebody who is going to keep my legacy and keep doing what I was doing. And so I need you to come out for her. That's exactly what he said. But one of the things, though, like you were saying, Joe, about what Trump's message and what he was saying and what he's been saying, and it's nothing new. You can look back on tapes when he was on Oprah Winfrey. I'm talking back in the 80s. He was saying the same thing. He was saying Saudi Arabia, the poorest people live like kings. He's like, and yet we protect them, we do this and that for them, and we're doing it for free. Why are we doing it for free? And then went on to talk about trade. All the stuff he's saying now, Trump has been saying for decades.
Yeah.
Decades.
Yeah. And I think in sticking with the Barack Obama thing, this, in my opinion, was also a referendum on Barack Obama. Did people want 4 more years of Barack Obama? This was, it may have backfired.
Yeah. All right, Chris, what have you seen happen since Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning?
So, I'm on Facebook a lot, and I have a lot of friends who are millennials, and they're openly socialists. They want bigger government. But right now, it's all about diversity, inclusion, and the election of Trump has made them scared. They truly feel like the country hates them. Some of them are gay people are mad at evangelicals. They think they're part of the problem because they don't want them to have rights. But there's so many posts. I want to read a couple. I don't know if right now is the right time.
No,
but I have some posts on my computer, and they're offensive. Can I read them? Can I read a couple posts?
Absolutely.
He won. I'm very disappointed in my country, not my president. Or here's another one. All right, maybe America is fine under a man with no experience, but I highly doubt it and really wonder where all the smart, educated people went this election. Another one. There are, in fact, two types of people in the world, Trump supporters and the rest of the world. I stood mortified in the crowd of Trump supporters. They bashed women, gays, and anyone who wasn't following Trump. They handed out targets with Hillary's face on them, and parents cheerfully told their children to use it as target practice. I have it all in video if you don't believe me. This has been the most revealing moment in the history of America. Why? Because we see who is truly racist, sexist, and who is prepared to have the first male president of the United States of America. And I'll read a couple more. If you voted for Donald Trump, please unfriend me as soon as possible. If you are a family member, please don't call me family. And here's one that was more diplomatic. Tuesday was horrific. I'm sitting baffled that some people are okay with what happened. Donald Trump represents something that is hateful and divisive. How is it possible that a man who was friends with the KKK became president, which isn't true? How is it possible that a man who believes in conversion therapy is our vice president? And that's a big deal because they think Trump supports conversion therapy. I'm also heartbroken by the amount of people who say to respect other people's opinion. Don't offend someone because they don't believe in something different than you. This is cookie cutter garbage. It is highly dangerous to be naive in this moment. If you support someone who has said so many hateful things and plans to do those things, what does that make you? You are who you support. I am the last person to disrespect. You just disrespected everybody. However, if your opinion blatantly disrespects other people's human rights, then you should truly not be my friend. Those are a couple of things. And these things are it's a little aggravating because they're calling all these people racist and bigots and sexist on things that weren't even true. Because half the things that they say make Trump racist and sexist, Trump never said. And secondly, even if Trump did say them, there's a lot of good people out there who didn't want to vote for Hillary because they're not stupid. They saw that she's a criminal. They saw that she's been there for 30 years and made millions off of politics. Just because you don't want to support her and vote for him doesn't make you a racist. Mm-hmm. And this is what another post that really shocked me. If you're a white male in America, you won. And that is racism to me. What do you mean if I'm a white male? I think there's also a backlash against white people in this country, and people laugh at me because I'm a white male. They don't think I'm serious. But obviously I'm privileged. I wasn't born in the city with poverty. But there's a lot of people who have a disdain for young white people because I can't explain totally why, but it's out there. Mm-hmm. And even I was in a conversation yesterday about masculinity. I kind of said a statement. If you're a guy, you should know how to change a tire. And the guy looks at me, got all offended, and he started talking. He says, I think when you go to the toy store at Target, there should not be boys aisles or toys aisles, girls or boy aisles, because you're pushing people to conform to sex.
Wow. And
I'm looking at him, and you are what you are, in my opinion. But you think they want little boys to play with Barbies if that's how they feel, and there's something wrong with that. They want Disney Channel to have two guys kissing each other, yeah. And they appreciate that, and I don't think that is the right thing to do for our children, because our children see this, they feed off of this. Our children love Lady Gaga. Our children love whoever else, Amy Schumer, all the celebrities that supported her. They love them, and they're listening to them. And there is a divide. There is a divide, and it's sad to me because When I see Trump, I see somebody who wants to do good for everybody. Somebody who wants to fix the economy, get better trade deals, but they don't understand that. They think Trump's going to be racist. They think he's going to suppress minorities. They think he's going to include stop and frisk, which that's a different story, stop and frisk. Okay, LGBTQ rights. All the personal issues that Trump had are meaningless. Every president we ever had moral issues. It's just a fact of life. If he governs good, I don't care, because that doesn't bother me. If he governs good, if he does what he promised to do, I don't care if he said a couple bad things in the past, because that's meaningless. Those are trifles. So.
Well, the reason why your peers, too, are having a meltdown, literally, is because, well, number one, it's kind of a dual-edged sword. Number one, it's because the biased liberal media, the Clinton campaign, and Democrats have painted him. They've literally gone on the worst smear campaign ever, I think, in the history of elections. And that's why this was one of the dirtiest elections. But they've painted him as this... Yeah.
And they think that the media has been fair to Trump and not fair to Hillary. They're mad at the media because the media covered the emails. They think the emails are a stupid issue. They don't care about Benghazi. They think Benghazi is irrelevant, and it's all just a thing made up by the Republican Party just for politics. They think they love James Comey. They loved James Comey all summer because James Comey said he shouldn't do anything wrong. And then he was fair, but then the minute he put out the FBI investigation again, corrupt. The FBI is corrupt. I mean, it's so hypocritical, and I'm not saying Republicans and people like us don't do it too. Everyone has their filter. Everyone sees things through their image, but it gets to a point where it's enough's enough.
Right. But like I said, they painted him as this monster, literally, monster. And then, they wonder why that you have millennials and other people fearful. You have Muslims thinking he's going to, get rid of all them. They have them believing that he wants to deport immigrants, not illegal immigrants, immigrants. You know what I mean? Like, they have all these lines up.
They never heard the word illegal. They only heard Mexicans, because the media Trump never said that illegal immigrants are this. He said illegal, but they never heard illegal, and that's where the racism they think comes.
So, like I said, it's kind of twofold. One, the reason why people, and especially millennials, are having this meltdown is because of the monster that he's been depicted, falsely, by the way. And then secondly, because of this, and this is what I've been posting lately, is you have what I call the participation trophy generation, where nobody wins, nobody loses, everybody gets a trophy just for participating. And what happens is we have a whole generation of people who don't know how to accept defeat gracefully. And I'm sorry, but in the real world, there's winners and there's losers, and you lost. Deal with it. They can't, though. They're literally having a meltdown. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos out there, but there's the one video of the girl going, I can't believe this. I'm going to kill myself. Somebody better fix this shit. And then you have the literally colleges all over the country of millennials sitting there crying, weeping, balled up in a fetal position. They're letting them skip classes and tests and giving them free pizza and bringing in, I'm not making this stuff up, bringing in therapy dogs to console them. And, I mean, come on, are you kidding me? Suck it up, buttercups. This is the real world.
Here, too. It happened here. There were some professors whose students complained, and they did. I heard of one student say we did not have a test because of the election results. And some professors didn't even come in because the professors are super big union people. Hillary lost. It was the end of the world for them. Mm-hmm. And they teach people who are educated. because college is so good. But those are the people teaching our students. How good can it be?
That's another thing I'm so sick of hearing, how, oh, the uneducated voted for Trump and the educated, were voted for Hillary. No, actually, the brainwashed voted for Hillary. Because most of our colleges, most of our schools, period, throughout the whole country, are liberal. And they're taught liberal ideology from kindergarten. Most of our colleges, if not all of them, very few, maybe some Christian colleges or whatever, but most of them are all highly liberal. And so basically, the people that go to college, the reason why they're all liberal is because they're taught what to think, not how to think. They're brainwashed. Just like Hitler said, control the education system and you'll control the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true.
Wow.
But it's just pathetic watching it's just pathetic watching these kids, carry on the way they are. And then you have the other Hillary supporters that you want to talk about scary, talking about assassinating Trump and killing your fellow Trump supporters. And there's actually already videos of a Trump supporter. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not dead, but of being beat up in the street, his car stolen from him, and he was trying to get his car and ended up being drugged down the street. And and it's just like, wow, really? This is supposed to be America, where we're free and we get to choose whatever candidates we want. The people have spoken, which, by the way, that's another whole topic, because I've been going back and forth with a liberal on my Facebook page all day who, tried to tell me that Trump, he wasn't elected, that he lost the popular vote. Therefore, he was, because I said, he was elected. I said the people have spoken, so, and he was elected. And that is, I didn't say he won the popular vote.
And the popular vote is stupid because you have California, and you have Seattle, and New York, and that's why you can't have a popular vote, because we have a country, the United States. Each state has their own culture, own demographic. You can't give California all the votes, because that's for the popular, and the East Coast. And guess what? If Trump would have won the popular vote, and if Hillary would have won, they would not say a word.
That's right. There would have not been a word about it.
That's what it actually came down to, because I painted it for her real clearly. I was like, look, the Electoral College is genius, and it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary, and it's absolutely fair. And if it didn't exist, it wouldn't. Exactly, it's constitutional. And if it didn't exist, then it truly wouldn't be fair. And then I explained it to her, broke it down really nice and simple for her to understand. I said, let's take our own state, for example. Our state, the state of PA, which I'm very proud of, that went red for the first time in 30, 40 years, which I'm very proud of that. But our state of PA has 67 counties. It's made up of 67 counties. Now, for a candidate to win a county, they must win the popular vote in that county. Okay? Now, Trump won 56 counties. She won 11 counties. Now, would it be fair for her to win the whole state of Pennsylvania, which is a pretty big state, by the way, the whole state of Pennsylvania only winning 11 counties because there's more people that live in Philadelphia County? Would that be fair? Or just think about, if it was true, let's pretend there's no electoral college. If they did abolish it, then what you would have is you would have the candidates every election cycle going to only the biggest states with the most populace, like you said, Chris, like California, Texas, Florida, and so on and so forth, the biggest states with the most populace, and they would only even campaign there. That's only the votes they would even vie for. The rest of the people's votes they wouldn't even give a crap about. So don't tell me about fair. Well, that means that all them other people, all the millions of people that live around the rest of the country, their vote wouldn't matter. Like, because all they would do is just go, the candidates would just vie for wherever the most populous was. Would that be fair, I said to her? Would it be fair if, which I think we did, me and Bill ended up looking up the actual numbers, but would it be fair if a candidate only won 7 states and the other person, won the other, out of 50 states, they only won 7 or 10 states, and the other candidate won 40 states? You think that would be fair? It's just, these people are ridiculous. And my bottom line is, I said to her, you know what? If it would have been the other way around, and Trump would have lost, and he had the popular vote, we wouldn't even be having this discussion right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And also, she won the popular vote. Do you also think, voter fraud, absentee ballot voter fraud?
Yeah,
exactly.
The guy in North Carolina allowed like 60,000 criminals to be illegal immigrants voting,
right.
Dead people voting.
Right.
I don't know.
And that's another thing I brought up too. Is she only won by over 125 million people voted for the two candidates. That's not even counting the people that voted, the other two parties. But for just those two, over 125 million people voted. She only got maybe 200 or 300,000 more votes than Trump. And like you said, those 200,000 or 300,000, they were probably mostly made up of fraudulent votes. They were the dead votes and the illegals and the, you know what I mean? And even with the cheating, they didn't win. They didn't win. And like I said, to take away the Electoral College would to be disenfranchise everybody. So millions of people, for instance, the 50-some million people that voted for Trump would be to disenfranchise their people of the vote. The Electoral College is made up so that literally, every single American vote counts. Every single American's vote counts. That's why we need the Electoral College. Without it, not everybody's vote counts. Bottom line.
Good stuff. All right, Sue, anything else you have?
Well, I mean, we were talking about how many states did go. We looked it up.
Yeah.
And I think she got 19, plus she won the District of Columbia, right, Bill?
Yes.
And then he got the other, what is it?
31.
19 from 50.
31 states.
What?
31.
31 plus Puerto Rico he got, right?
Yeah.
And Guam.
And
right.
Guam, yeah.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So, I mean, come on. You don't get much clearer than that. They don't tell me, she was trying to tell me, the people didn't select him, the system did. No, the people elected him. Don't tell me the people didn't elect him. You obviously, my dear, she doesn't know or completely understand the Electoral College. There's no way he could win without the people electing him. And then you just look at the map. It's crazy how most of it's red. And even when you break it down into states, like when they blow it up and they show you the counties, I was shocked that Pennsylvania, she only got 11 counties, and she almost even lost in Philadelphia. That's crazy. That's nuts. So don't tell me that people didn't elect them.
And getting back, Sue, something you said a little earlier about Trump being painted as a monster. I was just coming up with a little list here of all the things that were hammered over and over and over. The one thing that was brought up about Hillary Clinton during the campaign was, on the mainstream media, was the email fiasco. That was the one thing that was brought up to her criticism. Trump, despite all of these things, is now the President of the United States, the President-elect. Despite him not releasing his tax returns. How many times did we hear that? Despite the Access Hollywood bus tape. How many times was that played over and over again? Despite the 12 or so women who accused Trump of sexual assault. Despite him accusing the system of being rigged. Despite his 3 a.m. tweet regarding former Miss Universe Alicia Machado. Despite his call for a Muslim ban until we figure out what is going on with ISIS. Despite his suggestion that some illegal immigrants are murderers and rapists. Despite his alleged 3 debate losses to Clinton. Despite his vow to build a wall, and despite the charges that he's a misogynist and a xenophobe. Despite all of those things, he's now the President-elect of the United States. Now, what does that say?
God.
Yeah, I think it's saying that, that this is a person who should not be elected and should not be in the position to lead a country. And, if any of those they could get to stick, it would help her win. So it didn't matter what it was that they said. They just brought out so many bad things. They just hoped it would work.
So I think that what it says is that the people aren't fooled. They saw right through it all. They saw through the fraud, the lies, the false accusations, the ones that were true, like the Access Hollywood audio and stuff like that. They realized that, number one, that it doesn't make them a monster, you know what I mean? And honestly, it doesn't compare. It doesn't compare to, when you compare it to the actions of the Clintons and the corruption of the establishment, it doesn't even compare. This is like peanuts, and what every person, and especially every male, could attest that they were guilty of. So that definitely didn't change their mind.
And from the beginning, there was attacks. This isn't just from the very beginning. He had a bad temperament. I saw him today with Barack Obama sitting.
Yeah.
He had the best temperament I ever seen. I think that I was just obviously it was all hype. And making fun of him because he was in a reality show, I like somebody with experience. This guy ran businesses, ran airlines, owned a professional football team, wanted to start a professional football league, different types of merchandise, hotels. I mean, experience. So Barack Obama came in being a community organizer, and he was a senator, didn't pass any legislation. They say Trump doesn't have experience. You need real-life experience. You got to be able to talk to people, not politically, but the way it really is. And I think America has a great opportunity, and so does Trump, because like Bill said, Trump can go a little bit to the center more than any other Republican. I did not want Ted Cruz to win, because I knew if Ted Cruz would win, and I knew some of his history was shady, I didn't think Democrats would even consider, making the deal. I think they will with Trump.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And as far as his temperament and this and that, actually, they say that Churchill actually was the lewdest, crudest, rudest president we ever had, yet he ended up being a great leader. So, I mean, just because he might have some flaws where you don't feel he's politically correct, or, he can say some mean things, or he's a little rude, or, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean he's going to be a bad president. And like I said, when you put whatever he did or said, or any of his actions against, the Obamas, the Clintons, or the establishment. There was just no comparison. None.
Yeah, I agree. So, one of the observations that was made throughout the election cycle was that Trump was appealing to a part of the voting demographic known as evangelical voters. And I found this to be very interesting. Sue, you had a number on that. What was the number of evangelicals that came out to vote for Trump?
Well, so they say, or they're reporting, and I was shocked at this number myself, because I've always been disappointed that usually we're one of the lowest numbers that even bothers to come out to vote. But they're reporting that he got 80%. Even 80% of evangelicals came out to vote for Trump.
Yeah, that was very surprising to me that he got that many of the evangelical vote. Now, I guess most of those could probably be attributed to his stance on abortion, and that's understandable. But yet, the left was painting him as you pointed out, Joe, as this monster, who's foul-mouthed, who wants to attack women, who has raped women, so on and so forth. But yet you had so many evangelicals come out to support him. I saw video after video of Trump being prayed over by evangelicals. And Sue, you brought up about the parallels between Donald Trump and King Cyrus in the Old Testament. And they were even really some scary parallels there. The way that it seems as though some of the reasons that God used Cyrus in the Old Testament could be attributed to Trump today. And there were some, and I heard this out of someone's mouth at work. And Joe, you'll be interested about this. This person at work is a black man, and he's a Christian, and his wife is really a very.
He was a Clinton supporter, right?
He was a Clinton supporter. His wife is a very strong Christian. She's one of those that are out there actively giving the gospel. She's very involved. So anyway, he came home, and because he works second shift, and when he arrived home, his wife said to him, "Praise the Lord, Donald Trump is going to win." And he looked at her like, "What are you talking about?" And she told him that she had a dream over a year ago, and in that dream, the Lord was telling her that he was going to use Donald Trump for a time such as this. And when he said that to me, the hair stood up on my arm, because Sue and I had just talked about these, the videos of these, prophecy people who were making these predictions about Trump. And for him to say his wife dreamt about it too, it just, I don't know what to make of it. And so that's why I want to put it out there with all you guys. Like, what do you think about this? Is this the will of God for such a time as this, to raise someone up like Trump, and for what reason?
Well, I think that it's not just her, that I've been hearing this over and over again, and I don't know if I should name any names. I tried not doing that, but I know Keltner was one of the ones who said he had a dream, and like so many other Christians are coming out saying that either they had a dream or God revealed it to them. I have another Facebook friend who said that God revealed it to her, and she's a Christian. and she's kind of like a, like a social media, I don't know about a celebrity, but she has a lot of followers, and she posts a lot of live videos. And then, I'm trying to think, who else was it? Oh, in that video, there was a couple of people on the video about the parallels between Trump and Cyrus, and that, one was, what was that guy, like a Hindu, type person? He's now turned Christian.
Yeah, he was a former Hindu believer who
he was a former Hindu, but he was like one of them real high up people.
Yeah, right.
That are like
exactly, and he came to faith in Jesus Christ, and now he was talking.
He was saying that God revealed it to him.
Exactly.
That Trump would be president. And then there was also a guy who talks about prophecy a lot. And he also, years ago, apparently these people years ago, said that God revealed to them that Trump would be the president. And then watching even though I knew a lot about Cyrus, and the famous thing, and even Joe, I'm sure you're familiar with, where we get the saying, the writing on the wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
And, we get that from the scripture story of, when God, Nebuchadnezzar, when his son Belshazzar, when God ripped the kingdom from Belshazzar, and he wrote the writing on the wall, and Daniel came and interpreted the writing on the wall, and he said, if you tell me what it says, then I will give you half my kingdom. And Daniel says, you don't have half the kingdom to give, because God's taking away from you and giving it to Cyrus. And you're probably familiar with the scriptures that say that, fearless man and an upright man and so on and so forth. But one of the things I didn't realize about Cyrus is, because it's been so long since I've even read it, the Old Testament, is that apparently during Cyrus's reign he built a wall, and he also protected Israel, and he allowed them to rebuild the temple during his reign. And that's what really brought chills to me, because I thought to myself, we all know the temple has to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, what if, Trump's already talked about building a wall, obviously, and we all know that he supports Israel. Thank God, because, I'll bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. But the part about the temple being rebuilt during Cyrus's reign, that brought chills to me, because I thought, wow, what if God's going to use Trump's, time of presidency to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem? I don't know. It just, that brought chills to me, and there's a lot of things that, like number-wise, and obviously, that if you know anything about Scripture, that God has certain things with numbers and math, and the number thing is astonishing. It's a great video to watch. We should watch it, next time you're over, Joe, instead of doing small group, or something. Yeah, it's only an hour. It's not like it's real long, but it's astonishing. And I personally feel that God is going to use Trump. I really truly believe that he was born for such a time as this.
Any other thoughts about the evangelical vote?
I mean, you got to look at his history. He wasn't always the most religious person, but he accepts God. He campaigned really hard for the evangelical vote. He went to rallies. He went to Liberty, which is a big place. He went to several faith summits. He waved his Bible. He did, and we'll see what happens if he follows through. It's too early now, but if he follows through, you never know. Maybe that is exactly why he's here, because of God.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of really big, well-known evangelicals are supporting him, like Franklin Graham, and a lot of them are reporting that Trump has recently made a profession of faith. I hope to God that's true too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for his own salvation, absolutely.
Right. But Bill said, like we were talking about earlier tonight, you know, some of the things that, you know, that flipped it for Trump. And one of the ones that, like we were just talking about, was that 80% of evangelicals came out for Trump. But I think it was a lot of variables. Like, many people flipped their party. I mean, yes, some Republicans said they flipped too, but I think that more Democrats said, I just cannot vote for her, and flipped party and voted for Trump. And then you have many people, I know a lot of people, some of my own family, that said, you know what, I've never voted before. It's the first time I'm never voting. And I'm coming out because I believe in Trump. And I think that he got those people because of his stance on not accepting anybody else's money, not being a career politician, not being politically correct. I think they are the people who said, you know what, I never voted before, but I'm voting for this guy. You know what I mean? I think it was that aspect of Trump that brought those people out. And then, believe it or not, you have more women voted for Trump than expected. 53%. 53% of just white women. And we know he got more than just the white vote. You know what I mean? Actually, most of my black friends on Facebook, and what were the famous two women that were going around for all his campaigns supporting him? Do you remember their names, hon?
No, I don't.
I remember them. I can't
remember
their name. Diamond and Silk.
That's it.
Diamond and Silk.
So I mean, there's many women of color that voted for Trump, and he got 53 of just the white women. So there was way more women than expected that voted for him. You know, women are not easily fooled by that, oh, vote your gender. You know what I mean? Most women, they don't like feminists. You know what I mean? They're against feminism. Or at least the feminist movement, that is. Not in being feminine. And then, so he got a lot more of the women vote than it was expected, even with all their smear campaign about him being against women. And he got a lot of Latino and black votes, more than Dole did, and double or triple Romney. So
that reminds me, Sue. I was watching CNN, and they have a pundit. Her name is Ana Navarro. She's a Latino, and this was the day before the election. I was watching, and she looked at the camera, and she was so angry. She said that these words that you have spoken against Latinos, Mr. Trump, I feel so good and so vindicated that it's going to be the Latino vote that is going to be your demise. And then she ended by saying something in Spanish. She thought that the Latino vote was going to be the one that actually helped bring him down, that pushed Clinton over the edge. So it was very interesting to look at these viewpoints from these people that I've been watching for the last 6 months, and how wrong they were. And I also think that there was another constituency out there that may have been underplayed a bit, were independents who were looking for a voice. And, you know, as I said earlier, I would always vote Libertarian because I believe that they were the most constitutional of all the parties. At least they said they were. But, I knew that Harry Brown wasn't going to win. I knew that Michael Bednarik wasn't going to win in 2004. And I forget who it was in 08. But so I think
Ron Paul.
He was a libertarian?
Yeah.
In 08? Okay. Well,
I fought in 08, and then he went to the Republican Party.
Well, I think
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. A lot of support from independents. I mean, I couldn't see independents swinging Hillary Clinton's way. I think he got a lot of independent support who weren't going to vote for Gary Johnson, who weren't going to vote for Jill Stein. So I think that helped him as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
those who weren't really being very vocal about who they were going to vote for. And, they were touching on this in the media. They were talking about the silent Trump vote, the closet Trump vote, people that were maybe a little wary of being labeled a white supremacist or a misogynist or a Muslim hater if you said that you were going to vote for Trump.
Americans that felt that they couldn't even voice their opinion for a candidate because the ones that did, they had their cars keyed and they got beat up and their hats ripped off their head and all kinds of assault on themselves and property. So that's why I do believe that there were a lot of silent Trump supporters who just didn't say nothing throughout the whole thing and just really said, okay, well, I'm just looking forward to November the 8th. That's when they got their voice heard.
I'll tell you what's utterly fascinating to me in all of this. Like I said, for the last 6 months, I've been watching mostly CNN, and I it's so amazing to me that you have this group of people that are talking about Trump being divisive and a divider of people, and a hater of women and a hater of people from other countries. All this talk about the divisiveness of Trump, and now you look at the result of this election, and you look at the way they're handling it. They were the ones that were saying this country needs to be united, and Trump's not the one to unite us. So how the reaction? This is what really amazes me, is the reaction to this. Instead of saying, "Look, when Obama was elected, it had nothing to do with him being black. When he was elected back in 08 and then then in 12, what was the reaction? If you didn't like it, you maybe said it. You didn't go out and start riots and protests.
Right.
I'm looking at all these articles that I have in front of me. Classes being canceled, midterms being canceled, grief counselors being brought into school.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. I have a customer. Bill, I texted you this today. I couldn't believe this. I couldn't believe it. She told me that she and her husband went to a Broadway play yesterday, the day after the election. And at the end of the play, the lead actor got up and he addressed the audience. And he thanked the audience for coming out on this, one of the darkest days in American history.
Unbelievable.
And the audience gave him a standing ovation. This is the reaction that is utterly mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
If you're running a college, a university, you're gonna give the kids a day off because Trump won? What does that say?
Yep.
I mean, how weak is this country? I'm telling you, I'm looking at people crying and holding each other. And my question has been to even to my customers: what do you think is going to happen? You think America's going to fall off the face of the earth?
Yeah, that's what they think.
I mean, seriously, what is this reaction? It's all over the country, riots and protests.
Yep. I watched a video tonight, Joe, of a councilwoman in Seattle who was inciting a riot and telling the people that they should all go to Washington, D.C. on Inauguration Day and stop Trump from taking the oath of office. Joe, this is a woman in government. I mean, what's going on?
That is what angers me.
Yeah.
Because to me, like I said, the will of the people, we have spoken. You know, there was a fair election, and we won. Period. Trump won. And to me, it's not right.
Well, even if you did have Hillary Clinton win by a slim margin of the popular vote, as horribly as Trump has been painted during this whole election cycle, this whole campaign, and most of it is untrue, you still had half the country that voted for him.
Right.
So it's a reflection on your people.
And my point is that it's not right for the liberal biased media, and they're still doing it, and they're one of the main culprits of the cause of the divide of this country. And you see it continuing, even though the election's over. What do? It could be 2 people burning a flag. They're going to cover it everywhere, and any and every little negative thing about anybody's response to Trump's election, they're covering it tenfold, and they're trying to make it like this is a worldwide, a countrywide thing going on. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
What are the world
around here?
NPR. Today I was listening to NPR, and they did it. I couldn't listen all day. Every once in a while, I'd go in and take a break, and I'd put it on. This one NPR correspondent was going around, and they did this one spot where he's interviewing this Muslim woman, and she's telling a story about her children being horrified. And she said the day after the election, her 4-year-old looked at her in stunned silence and started weeping. And they're painting this picture of, in January, Muslims are going to be rounded up and they're going to be deported. All he said, all I remember him saying, and let's remember these terrorist attacks overseas in Nice and in Paris and in Belgium, they were reported to be done by Islamic terrorists.
Right.
And his response was, let's think about stopping Muslims from coming into the country until we can figure out what is going on with ISIS. So don't tell me out of one side of your mouth that it's Muslims that are doing the carrying out the terrorist attacks, and even, if you believe it really happened in San Bernardino and in Orlando. So, these are all painted as Muslim extremists. So you got to figure out what Islam is saying. Are these people really fundamental Quran believers, or are they not? And I think that Trump's message was, we got to find out who these people are. But
and actually, I don't know of him ever saying to deport Muslims. He never said he said to either put a stop to the immigration from there for now, or to make sure they're extremely vetted so that we can make sure that they're not terrorists coming over. The only other thing he said was that, concerning Muslims anyway, or Islamists, is that about Syrian refugees, that we're not going to accept no more refugees. We're going to do the merciful thing, and we'll set up safety zones in other countries, you know what I mean, in their country or in other countries, but not in our country. And I don't have a problem with that. As far as him deporting any, I don't think he said that at all. And if he did, he might have said, if you're caught with maybe, committing a terrorist act, maybe. You know what I mean? But I don't recall him ever saying.
No, he never said anything about deporting Muslims. If he did, believe me, CNN would have played it over and over and over again. Yeah. He never said that, but it's being translated. It's being translated into he hates Muslims. I'm telling you, I listen to this stuff. I see it all the time. It's worse than you guys think, because I don't think you guys listen to this CNN. You don't listen to NPR. These are propaganda machines. These people are fueling the division. These people are fear mongers. I'm telling you, they are out there scaring people. That's why. And you brought it up earlier, Sue, about the universities. They're raised on believing these things, raised on evolution, raised on now accepting all kind of deviant sexual behavior. So for those who scream, acceptance and tolerance and let's all come together, they're doing the exact opposite thing now. Every once in a while you hear somebody say who's for Hillary Clinton. I'll hear them say, "Well, let's give him a chance. He hasn't even taken office yet. Let's not burn the country down." But overwhelmingly, it's the opposite. They don't want to give him a chance. They don't. Another thing that I'm tired of is the people of color thing, the communities of color. Give me a president who does what's right with trade, who does what's right with labor, who does what's right with taxes, and everybody benefits. I don't want to court the people of color vote. Everybody's an American here. Okay, let's have a government by the people and for the people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I had something else I wanted to touch on tonight. Earlier today I sent Joe this article that I found on the internet today from the Washington Post, and some of the observations that this person was making were intriguing to me, and I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion on it. He titled the article, "Considering What America's Choice of Donald Trump Really Means." And he went on to say about how, 8 years ago with the election of Obama, everyone was out in the streets and they were high-fiving one another, they were hugging one another, they were kissing one another, and it seemed like the country was coming together. But now, 8 years later, you have Donald Trump come along and everyone's fighting with one another and everyone hates one another. And so he was trying to make a distinction there. But one thing I wanted to read, and I wanted to see what you guys thought about this, because I think Chris touched on this a little bit earlier regarding social media. And this is what this guy wrote. He said, "Across the ideological divide, some see this year's surly, sour campaign as a reflection of sentiment that has been plainly visible on the internet for a long time, but that just this year exploded into open expression. Fear and anger and misogyny and xenophobia, they don't change. They were always out there, but now those people can find each other so much more easily," said Chip Franklin, a radio talk show host in San Francisco. And he goes on and says further, "This year's anger is the same as any other year's anger, but what's different now is that there are 30 different ways to express it and share it with people who would never have seen this before. So then along comes Donald Trump, willing to say what people wanted him to say. And even if he had lost, this would have been the year of Trump, a wholesale rejection of politics as usual." So what do you guys think about that? You think that this whole election thing was all born on the internet and finally came out, birthed into everyday life because of Trump? You believe that?
No. I mean, it's part of it, but I think that the anger goes way deeper than that. You have people, who are older that shouldn't be working as hard as they're working. They're working forever. They have kids. They got to pay college. They're struggling. I mean, there is a real struggle right now. I see it. I think we all see it everywhere. I mean, social media maybe lets people, talk about it more and see different, views and see views that resonate with them. But, the root of the problem is big government policies, Democrat policies, some Republican policies. Republicans aren't clean.
No.
Either. They're all the same, in my opinion. There's some good Republicans, maybe some good Democrats. But I think it's a rejection for, just the total, America, the home of the free, the land of the brave. Everyone has equal opportunity. Equal opportunity, no matter what race. I don't think there's an equal opportunity for people to actually live a lifestyle that they would prefer to live.
Absolutely. And I think that's why you have so many people coming out and saying, you know what, there's Republicans, there's Democrats, and then there's Trump. And you know what I mean? And he's in a totally different category because, like you said, they're almost like hand in hand. And I'll never forget, what was his name, the wrestler that became governor?
Jesse
Ventura, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the one who blew the lid on that. And he said, you know what? He said politics is like wrestling. He's like, we all act like, oh, we hate each other, wrestle each other. He's like, and then afterwards, we're going out to dinner, high-fiving, laughing. We're all making money, blah, blah, blah. He said politics is the same thing. He said it's all show. He said, the Republicans pretend to hate Democrats and vice versa. And, they all have their hand in their pockets deep full of, money from here and there and everywhere. They're all in it together. And they said they just act like they hate each other. And then behind the scenes, they're going to dinner together and laughing and celebrating. And, and I do. I truly believe that was the gist of politics. I think he blew the lid on that years ago. And that's why I said Trump is like, this is enough. Enough's enough. This has to stop. And I think that's what that's what resonated with voters, and they felt the same way. Trump was saying everything that people have been feeling for so long.
Right, exactly. I've been saying for years and years and years there isn't a dime's worth of difference between a Republican and a Democrat, and this election has demonstrated to me one thing, and I said it earlier, that there were people, a whole lot of people out there who were waiting for someone to look and sound different than your typical Republican and your typical Democrat. And Trump, one of the things that stood out to me during this whole election, when was the last time when Mitt Romney ran, or John McCain before that, or the Bushes before that? When did you ever see other Republicans come out and just say, I'm not supporting this guy?
Right.
Just forget about this guy. That never happened before.
No.
It happened this time.
Mm-hmm.
It happened this time.
Exactly. And the reason why is because he threatens their pockets as well.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to. It's not just that he was threatening to expose all the fraud and all the corruption and all the Wall Street and special interest and all that on the Democrat side, but also on the Republican side. So he was a threat to everybody's pocket. That's why, just like it was said very early on, when, the media is against you, and the Republicans, and the Democrats, and, Wall Street, and you name it, they were all against Trump. Nobody wanted Trump. And that's why everybody said, you know what, that he's probably the right guy then. And I truly believe that. Because, and that's why I felt like when I found out that he won, I bawled. First off, all day I just could not stop praying and just pleading with God to please let him win, and to help me accept his will if she wins, and to just trust him and not be afraid. But like I said, all day I just was praying, and when I found out that he won, when finally they announced PA for Trump, I knew absolutely it was over at that point, and I just could not stop, crying and just praising God. Because in my eyes, it's like Trump took on the world, literally, and he took a lot of abuse for doing so when he didn't have to. He had nothing to gain. He left the life of luxury to do that, to do this. And God made sure that he overcame. He overcame them all. The corruption, the fraud, the politicians, the biased liberal media, the smear campaign, the false accusation, everything. All of it. Death threats. People trying to attack him on stage. You name it.
Well, I'm afraid that Donald Trump, he hasn't seen anything yet, because once he gets in there and and starts down the road of his policies and what he's going to do, he's going to face fierce opposition from one side, and like Joe said, if he doesn't live up to what he says, he's going to face the opposition from the other side as well. So the presidency is one that, at best, your approval rating will be 50%. So
right. I was watching his plane land down today in D.C.
Yeah.
And the camera was on the plane, and I kind of, for a second, got scared. So I just was thinking, there's people who want this guy dead. There's people who think he's the darkness in America. People will risk. You have people risking their lives for meaningless. The people will risk their lives, and it scares me a little bit that there is a potential. There's so much hate.
Yeah.
There's a potential for something really bad happening, and that scares me. And I don't know the guy, but he's giving me some kind of hope. I have more hope than I had with Hillary.
Yeah.
There's some kind of extra optimism, whatever that might be. I know I control what I do, but there's an optimism that things will get better. And there's people who don't understand his message and have listened to the poison of the media and all the criticism. And, so it does scare me a little bit that someone's going to try to kill him.
That is a little scary. Hey, Chris, I want to ask you a question. Right now, in your sphere of influence, where you are, is there anyone else that thinks the way you do, or are you pretty much on an island by yourself?
No, there is. There actually is. Yeah, and I have a lot of friends who are. And a lot of people who aren't political, they didn't like either of them, but they like Trump for his confidence. People like confidence. It's always like that, and they respect that. I call it the Kanye effect. Because Kanye West here is somebody who is cocky, who's always on his game. And there are people. I even talked to a girl, and I thought she was going to be liberal. I said, "Who did you vote for?" She said, "I don't want to say." I said, "Okay," because she's scared to say it. Because other people will not respect her if she didn't say it. And she said, Donald Trump. And I talked to a lot of people. I had friends secretly text me and said, "Chris, can I tell you something?" I said, "What?" I like him. Even African American people. So, and that is the hidden vote, because he has a populist message. He says something that we can all agree on, because I think when it comes to policy, he's in the center right. And I think a lot of people, especially practical people, who live in everyday life, who see the downfall of the government, who see the taxation, who see the premiums going up, those aren't the media talking who's living in D.C. and going to fancy hotels. These are real-life people who understand the flaws. And we saw that there's enough of these people when Donald Trump won the election.
Well, that's why, too, I'm really hoping that his message to minorities like blacks and Latinos, but especially blacks, I hope it really resonated to them, because he was saying to them, what he said to them was so truthful. He reached out to them and said, you have violence and murders and poverty and no jobs, and he went on and listed everything that's wrong with the inner cities. And he said, "What do you got to lose?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm telling you, I'm for you. I'm on your side. I want to rebuild the infrastructure. I want to bring back jobs. Now, he's not saying I'm going to give you free handouts.
Yeah.
That's
different
another
message.
thing that they get scared into. Oh, the Republicans want to take away your food stamps. That's such bullshit. And it's never happened with any Republican president. But besides that, what he's saying to them is, I want to clean up the inner cities. I want to rebuild our infrastructure and our bridges and our roads, and that's going to create jobs. And I want to make it to where the trade and the taxes and the regulations bring companies back here, which are going to create jobs in the inner cities. You know what I mean? And that's why I really, really hope that not only did his message get out there, but I'm really hoping and praying that I really want to see him do that for the inner cities and the minorities. Because, well, number one, it's just a disgrace, even when you go through Philadelphia.
It is.
And the same, I'm sure, in Detroit and then, all the other major cities around. But I really would love to see him come through on his word to them, and I'm grateful that I do believe a lot of them took their chances on him, because, like you said, what do you have to lose? And then I really hope that he's able to accomplish it, and so that he wins over the ones that didn't believe in him, and just keep saying he's a racist. That I want it to be to where even they say, "Wow, we were wrong,"
Yeah.
Yeah, I was amazed to when Trump was talking about the conditions of the inner city, the reactions to the particularly the black panelists on CNN, who were shaking their heads, and they were incredulous at what he was saying, and I thought to myself, well, when's the last time one of you guys took a ride through the inner cities? I mean, you don't. What do you have bars on all of the stores for? You got bars on all the stores. What's that, to keep the people from the suburbs out?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's a problem with the inner cities when there's bars on all the stores. Over the windows. You know what I'm talking about, not drinking bars.
Yeah.
Well, not even just the bars. I mean, look at the amount of boarded up houses and factories and buildings everywhere.
It's called blight.
Trash.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, when you consider there's cities like Detroit that are literally in shambles. I mean, the auto workers they've pretty much been marginalized there. There's hardly any work for them. You have other industry there that has just moved out. You have blocks and blocks of city buildings that are just deteriorated. You have housing that's falling apart. And, what has Barack Obama done for them in the last 8 years? Is there anything measurable that they can look to? No, there's nothing.
One thing that they'll say, Bill, 20 million people now with health care.
Yeah, no, I heard that argument too. To which I say, what does the government have to do with those 20 million people? Since when does government have to provide health care?
I don't think that's what they're going to say. I don't think that any of them from the inner city, like Bill said, can say one positive thing about Obama, except for their Obama phones, which actually was something that Clinton enacted. It had nothing to do with Obama. Obama was just the one that ended up giving them all out at that time, but it wasn't something that was passed by Obama. But anyway, besides that one thing that they really felt was given to them for free or whatever, they can't even say that about Obamacare.
You're right.
Because even people that in the inner cities who couldn't afford insurance before, now they're forced to buy it whether they can afford it or not. You know, that's like one of the saddest memes I've ever saw on Facebook was of a guy sitting on a park bench with his head hanging low, and it said something to the effect like, you know, I can't afford health insurance, and you know, I'm poor or whatever, and I can't afford health insurance. And then it said something like, yeah, I'm still poor, and now I'm being penalized because I can't afford health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so basically, and the only way they're making out, and it ain't no different for Obamacare for them people. The only people that are making out is if you have no job and you're on welfare. That's
right.
A whole different kind of insurance.
Yeah, that's not Obamacare.
So, but if you're working, even if you're only making $9 an hour, guess what? You ain't getting free health care. It's not about free health care. It ain't free.
No.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you're in the inner city and, you know, you're a minority and you're making bare minimum already and you didn't have insurance before, now you're forced to get insurance, and whether you can afford it or not.
Right.
So I don't even think that the inner city people can say, oh, he gave us free insurance, because that's just not even true. There is no such thing as free insurance. It's not free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've seen in Pennsylvania the premiums are skyrocketing for people on Obamacare. I saw where one person wrote that they were paying I forget what, somewhere in the $80 range per month for health insurance, and now their premium was skyrocketing to over $300 a month. So where is this affordable health? You know, isn't that what it was called? Affordable.
Mm-hmm.
It's far from affordable, and if you can't afford the insurance, guess what? The IRS will make sure that you pay it, because they're going to charge you $3,000 this time for not having health insurance. So, you know, President Obama, he can say all he wants and he can jump through hoops, but really what it all comes down to is it's just another tax.
That's right.
And it's another example of government sticking its nose where it doesn't belong and corrupting everything that it touches.
That's right.
Stay out of health insurance.
Yep.
And the proof that it's just another tax.
Let the free market decide it.
Exactly. But the proof that it's just another tax is that the IRS runs it.
Yeah.
Because you have to report to the IRS whether you paid it or not, and if you don't, they just take it right out of your tax return. And then if you don't have enough money to pay for it out of your tax return, because they just take it right off the top. If they don't have, if you don't, then now you're fined.
Yeah.
Now you owe the government, so now you owe with penalty and interest. Yeah, it's a joke.
It is.
And like you said, Joe, open it up to the free market. That's exactly what Trump wants to do. And not only in this country, he says in everywhere. Open it up everywhere. The best thing is competition. That's what will drive down the prices of healthcare. You know?
Yep.
I have a quick question, if that's okay.
Sure.
So Trump just tweeted his first tweet since becoming president-elect. Okay? I'm going to read it. Okay? He said, just had a very open and successful presidential election. Now professional protesters, incited by the media, are protesting. Very unfair. That was his first text as president, first tweet as president. I think that's a little bit of a toxic tweet. I don't think he shouldn't have tweeted that, his first message as president. I don't think you should be blaming the media anymore. I don't think you should be saying that that they're professional protesters, because they're not professional protesters. They're actually people who are angry.
Yeah.
I think that was a stupid tweet, and I hope he doesn't continue playing little games on social media and responding to all the criticism. This is when he should act presidential and show that I'm different than you.
Criticism all the time. He can't do that. You know.
This was first tweet I saw that when you guys were talking, and that's a little bit of a caution to me. I hope his ego is big enough to not want to fail America, but I hope his ego is not too big that he doesn't want to. He has to take the bullets, because there's going to be so many bullets.
Yep.
And I hope I'm sure he will, but that's just a little thing that I caught.
No, I agree. He can't respond to every little thing. You know some of the stuff that has come out against Obama.
Mm-hmm.
And although I do believe a lot of it's true, I mean, you know, there's been, there was a guy who came out and actually had a press conference, and he said that he had fellatio and did drugs with President Obama when he was a senator. Can you imagine if Obama came out and was tweeting every time somebody said something against him or whatever? It would be like, you want to talk about, it would be like Jerry Springer reality. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if he ever tweeted at all. Did he ever tweet? I don't ever remember him tweeting at all.
No, I don't think he does.
He tweets a little bit.
I think that's one of the things that... did he?
He does tweet once in a while, yeah. He'll say, Merry Christmas, Happy Veterans Day, or something. He does have a Twitter, or it's a staffer doing it. But he does have a Twitter.
Right.
Yeah, I agree that Trump has to be magnanimous in these kind of situations and take the high road, and his speech right after he accepted was one that he wanted to bring the country together. He wanted everyone to be together. So, to make a statement like that doesn't show that that's really what you want to do. So, I don't think that he should be attacking anybody. I think that's not the job as the president.
Yeah. I just wanted to point that out there because we're fair here, right?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I don't agree with that first tweet either. If anything, he should have said, something about, thanks for, because of all of you, everybody who came out, just thanked everybody for the victory. Although I know he did that, with his speech the night he won, but
he's making it worse. He's in the campaign mentality. If that wasn't a campaign, fine. But you're the president-elect. Come on.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of, too, when he went and he accepted, the win, and he went up there and, gave a short speech. And I was worried that because there was a couple of things he said that it was like, come on, dude, the campaign's over. You know what I mean? You don't need to...
I'm happy we realize that. I'm happy we see that. And I hope he sees that.
Right.
Yeah, well, hopefully he puts enough good people around him that will rein him in certain situations.
That's another thing. Rudy Giuliani, Newt Gingrich, Jeff Sessions, these guys have been there for a while. I mean, I hope he gets some insiders from the business world. Because, I guess, Chris Christie, he loves Chris Christie.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the thing is with the...
Although I happen to agree with them, though, that the media is inciting this stuff. And it is causing not only greater division, but literal danger. Like, even for you, Chris, when you're saying I'm at college and I'm a Trump supporter, I'm fearful for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I agree with what he said. I agree with what he said. What he said is true. It's just, in that position, we can reflect, but he has to unify.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. And he doesn't need to say it. The supporters already know what's going on. That's all. Everybody that I see that are Trump supporters, they're all talking about it. They're all saying, talking about how the reaction of the left and the reaction of the millennials and that's all they're talking about. So you don't need to tweet it. Your supporters we're on it already. You know what I mean? We're already saying it for you. We don't need you to, you know what I mean? He doesn't need to do it. And like I said, you can't, every single thing that you hear, you can't come out and say something,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
that's like I heard a joke today that Melania was about Melania saying something about showing up at the White House and saying, "What is this shack?" or something like that. You know what I mean? Because like where they're coming from, where he has a lot of gold and this and that or whatever. But like, what's this shack you brought us to or something? It was some really bad joke from somewhere. I heard it on the radio. But that would be like him, like every time he hears something like that, like tweeting out there, like before he was tweeting way too much. Because like I followed him, and there were times where my phone would just be blowing up with nothing but Twitter tweets. Like I didn't even think about that, Chris, but I hope to God he cannot keep that up. Not as president. He can't keep doing that.
Let's remember the election was just 2 days ago. He's going to have people around him that are going to rein him in, and he's going to adjust to it. He'll start cooling that. I can guarantee it. He ain't going to be tweeting the way that he did during the campaign. Once January rolls around and he's inaugurated, he ain't going to be tweeting because he's going to get as much criticism as Obama, if not more.
That's right.
So he'll get used to it.
And hopefully he's not going to have the time to be sitting around tweeting.
I mean, even presidents have downtime, So.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully he won't be going to Hawaii every week.
What's that, Bill?
I said hopefully he won't be flying to Hawaii every week. Like
Obama.
Like the past president.
Yeah, he was from Hawaii, so he was constantly flying there. You know how much money it costs the taxpayers?
Well, I was just
going
to say, who's paying for that? Right.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, who cares? Does anybody care about that?
That he's going
to what?
That he's using taxpayer money?
Yeah.
Some may.
I care.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I do too, but I mean, is anything ever going to be done about it?
No.
Nope. No. Trump will pay for his trips by himself, I guess.
No, I think he's going to. I mean, the Secret Service is a lot. I think he's going to have Air Force One.
I know. I'm just kidding.
I'm
just kidding. I know.
That might be a step down for him, though.
Okay, I thought you were kidding, but then I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, no, he's not that dumb. He ain't going to give up all the churches.
I know.
He already forfeited a paycheck. He's already forfeiting a paycheck. He ain't forfeiting the Air Force One.
However, Trump did say he didn't want a salary. He said, I don't want it. I don't need it, which is cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. I mean, it's only a couple $100,000 a year, I think, anyway. Which isn't like, to him, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's true, but that's another thing. Social Security. Why are rich people even? Why rich people? Anyway, that's a different story. I'm not going to get into Social Security.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's time to end the show, Bill.
Yeah, I think it is. We're over 2 hours. This has been a really good series, and I'm glad that we did it. You know,
And hopefully we don't do it for another 4 years.
we won't. I promise you that we won't.
Hopefully we can come back soon and talk about progress that's been made.
Yeah, we'll do that at some point.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see.
The Susan Posey Show. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
you can have us on as guests. This is way more up your alley.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on tonight. It really has been a good time. It's been good to hear what each of us think. I'm glad that Chris has been able to come back on with us again tonight, because we get a perspective from him that we wouldn't see or hear otherwise. So, Chris, again, thanks for coming on with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much. I learned a lot from you guys. I enjoyed discussing, this history that we witnessed, and look forward to talking to you in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll see you at Thanksgiving, Chris.
Yes. Hopefully the Eagles will be doing better.
Yeah.
Who cares?
I don't think so, Chris, but I'm hoping to.
Don't worry, we got the Sixers. Sixers are better, even better.
Yeah, right.
Alrighty,
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you, Chris.
Hey, by the way, Chris,
Yep.
we got to get together, okay?
Yep, sounds great.
Yeah, if we can do it over the Thanksgiving holiday, that would be good.
Your treat, Chris.
Sounds good. Very cool. Thank you. Take it easy.
great.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
You
Good night,
too.
Chris.
Good night. Well, Sue, thanks again for being part of our panel. Appreciate your insights, and Joe, brother, it's time for us to get back to the paranormal. So,
Yeah.
getting back to what
I think we were dealing with the paranormal.
Yeah, it was.
But we just didn't really get into it.
Yeah, it was outside of normal, that's for sure. But you know what? I think that we can rest easy knowing that we can leave it all to the Lord and not have to take it upon ourselves to worry or to be concerned.
No.
Paul told us that we don't have a spirit of fear, but one of a sound mind. So, we can trust our Savior in whatever His will is in this situation. Certainly, we're happy that that the election turned out the way it did, and I know I'm happy that I can actually call it an election because, we started this series calling it the selection because we were convinced that Hillary was the one selected to take on this next 4 years as president. So I'm still in a state of disbelief, Joe. I really am. But it's good disbelief,
Yeah. It's kind of the feeling that I had watching the whole the election coverage. It was just like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
But to end, I want to end again to your point, Bill, about knowing all of this is in the Lord's hand, even if Hillary Clinton had won the election. I began this series with the Philippians passage that we are citizens of another country.
Amen.
And so while we watch and we pay attention and we speculate and we have opinions, in the end, that's what they all are. The only thing that we can place our total 100% faith in and rest in is that the Lord is coming again, and that this is not our home. We always keep in mind that this earth is reserved for fire and judgment, and the fact that we are citizens of another country, our citizenship is in heaven, is the thing that ought to bring the greatest comfort to us as believers, to know that our lives are not in the hands of politicians. Our lives are safe and secure with Christ, hidden with Christ. So no one should be fearful of anything that happens in this world. Concerned, yes, but it's not the same thing as fear. Like I said, we keep watch, and we're sober-minded, and we stay alert. But we understand that the Scriptures are God-breathed, and we trust in them 100%. We can't trust in any politician 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I would like to end up this series, is reiterating my longing for my home.
Amen.
And we're constantly reminded of how this is Satan's world and he's the prince of the power of the air. Always reminded of that. When we understand what the Scriptures say about what heaven is going to be like, when we understand what Revelation 22 says, this is what we long for. This is what we look forward to. There's no hope in this world. I don't care who gets elected. There's no hope in this world. So, having said all that we've said through this whole election series, this is
even though there's no hope, though, let me interject there, Joe. Even though there's no hope in the world, because of course my hope is not in the world, it's in the Lord. It is an exciting time that we are living in. I really feel like we are living in the last days, where we just see prophecy unfolding before our eyes. Even with like Russia and Syria coming together, and they're already rallying against Israel, and just other prophecies that we see unfolding. I find it exciting.
It is. It absolutely is. But at the end of the day, we look forward to coming into our eternal home. That's what we look forward to.
Yeah, amen.
Amen.
All right, we want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight and listening to Answers for the Paranormal. For those listening in the podcast, thanks for tuning in. And we hope you'll check us out next time when we broadcast live. We'll make an announcement on Facebook when that will be. So for Susan and for Joe, this is Bill. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Answers for the Paranormal. Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.